Hey guys, JC the Sniper, and I'm coming to you today with another knife review. And today I've got for review the Spyderco Resilience. Big ol' huge blade. It's awesome. I've been carrying it a little while now, and it's just awesome. It's pretty sweet. So I'm going to do a review of it here. First of all, we'll get the specs out of the way. Overall length, 9 3/8 inches, so it's gargantuan. Closed length, 5 1/4. Hole diameter, 1/2 inch, 13 millimeters. Blade length is 4 1/4, and the cutting edge is also 4 1/4. Blade thickness is 1/8 of an inch. Blade steel, we'll talk about here in a minute. And weight is 5.4 ounces. So that's pretty much it for the specs. So it's just a huge knife, very large knife, which will definitely have a role in deciding what you're going to do with this knife. You know, it's not going to quite be it's not going to be quite as nice for EDC as something like, you know, the Spyderco Stretch. You know, much smaller blade, easier to carry around, or, you know, an Endura, or a Bird Caracara, you know, something along those lines. It's gonna, I mean, it's so big, it's just gonna be a little bit more difficult to carry. So because of the size of this blade, you know, it's just huge. It's massive. Significantly larger than the Spyderco Tenacious, which has just under a 4-inch blade. I mean, this thing is a beast. You compare this next to the Spyderco Police. This has a larger handle and about the same length blade. And this, when you lay them next to each other, they're about the same length. And the Military, it's a little bit bigger than the Military. So, you know, it's huge. It's a large folder. So I'm going to say that puts this in the realm of folding tactical / defensive knives, or a large camp folder. You know, you're going camping, you're going backpacking, you want a large knife, but you don't want to carry the weight of a fixed blade, perhaps. This would probably service you well. It might, you know, you might be able to do some light batoning and stuff with this. You can definitely, you know, clean a fish, gut an animal, you know, any of that stuff with it. So maybe in the role of well, folding survival knife, maybe, but definitely a camp knife and definitely a defensive tactical knife. I'm not going to say it's probably an EDC blade. I will everyday carry it, but I'm crazy. I mean, it's huge and it's difficult to carry. So, you know, that's up to you. Here, I'm going to grab something real quick. Show you guys this. Here's my K-bar. My Spyderco Resilience. As you can see, the Resilience's handle is longer than that of the K-bar. You know, obviously the blade's not as long, but it's not too much shorter either. And this is a large knife. So, you know, it's just huge. So, camp folder or, you know, defensive knife. Steel and blade shape. Oh, also it's 5.4 ounces. Forgot to talk about that. 5.4 ounces, so it's pretty light. Not too much, you know, slightly heavier than the, you know, it's about an ounce heavier than the Caracara NG10, at least the Caracara 1 NG10. I think the Caracara 2 is lighter. So, you know, put those next to each other. This thing is huge. This thing dwarfs the Caracara, but, you know, not too much heavier. So that's pretty impressive. Blade steel is an HCR 13 MOV. So it's the same steel you see in the Kershaw Oso suite, and it's analogous to AUS A, or AUS 8 rather, which we see in the Columbia River M16, which I'm still a fan of. I've had a good amount of experience with the 8CR and the AUS 8. I don't really have a problem with it. I know it's a little bit softer. Would I like this in VG10 or something similar? Yes, but that would increase the price. So, you know, I like the 8CR. I'm fine with it. And for sharpness, there's no problem. This thing is a stinking razor blade. I know I say that about a lot of knives, but this one, it's ridiculous. I mean, y'all can see that. This thing is sharper than any other knife I've ever owned. I've never had a knife come out of the box this sharp. I mean, it is just ridiculous how sharp that thing is. You know, I didn't cut any paper with it for a little while, but I cut some other stuff, like I cut some strings, I opened a box or two, and I was like, wow, this thing's pretty sharp. I cut that paper and I was like, oh my gosh, it just goes boop right through it. I was like, what the crap? Never had a knife this sharp. I mean, it's crazy. You know, I thought my Bird Cara came out of the box sharp, and it did. Also an 8CR 13 MOV. This one's sharp. You know, it'll do similar things. Nowhere near as sharp as the Resilience. It's crazy. So if you want a sharp knife, Spyderco does it right with the Resilience. And you know, that's one thing that recommends the blade steel to me, because obviously that blade steel will take a very, very fine edge. And I'm sure part of that is due to the blade shape. We've got a full flat ground blade, and it's very wide, so the approach to the edge can be gradual. So that allows for a much finer edge. So, you know, part of that is a function of the blade shape. You don't have quite as much blade on, you know, well, you know, you get a little bit less blade on a Cara or a Endura. Not quite as thick all the way down. So it's in theory this should be sharper than this because of the fact that it has a longer approach to the edge, and it definitely is. I mean, it's a razor. It's crazy. Very, very impressed by that. Extremely impressed. I'm probably gushing about it a little bit, but it's awesome. I would buy this knife just for that. And the blade shape I really like, obviously. You get a good amount of belly, which is good for your, you know, camp cutting tasks and things like that. But also still a strong tip because of this leaf-shaped blade. And I'm really a fan of the leaf-shaped blades. I like them a lot. I know sometimes you might not want that big old wide blade. There are some tasks where it might be a little bit annoying. You know, it just depends on what you're doing with it. But for the most part, I really enjoy a leaf-shaped blade. I think aesthetically they look really sweet. I'm a big fan of the leaf-type blades, almost leaf-shaped blades on the Endura. I think that looks real fancy. And I think the blade on this Resilience looks excellent as well. But it's also an extremely good slicer because of that. And I think it would, if you did use it for batoning, which I'm not going to, that'll help you split things nicely because it's a little bit more wedge shaped. So definitely good for that. Good for slicing meat or cheese or anything like that. I'm a big fan of full flat ground, as you know, partially for aesthetics but also for cutting. And they've brought the edge all the way up to the handle. So the blade edge goes all the way to there, rather than, you know, the Endura stops here, which is nice for the Endura because I can throw the weight down and close it. If it was like this, you couldn't do that. But it's nice that they've done that. One thing you'll have to watch, though, is when you close it, you don't want to have your thumb in the way because this thing's like a meat cleaver. That'll take a finger off just about. And it's so sharp. I would not want that coming down on my finger. So, you know, that's good. Speed is really, really excellent. I mean, you guys can see that. It comes out quick. Part of that is because handle retention. This thing retains really well in the handle. As you can see, if I pull it out, it pops a good distance because I have to use a pretty good amount of force. It's almost difficult if you just want to slowly open it, because as soon as you clear that detent, it pops out like that. So if you just want to, you know, swing it open with your finger like that, it's a little bit more, I mean, it's not difficult, but it's easier to just pop it out there because it's got that strong detent, and once you overcome the detent, it just wants to fly out of the handle. And part of that, you know, it's definitely quicker than the Endura, and even quicker than the Stretch, which is faster than the Endura. But part of that is because of the design of the lock. With a lock back, you have spring tension the entire time until it locks. Well, and then you still have tension, but you know, you have spring tension from here all the way. With a liner lock, you don't get quite that same spring tension, so it can fly out easier. And there's the fact that this thing is huge, and once you get that blade's momentum going, it's just coming out, and there's nothing stopping it. So it's a beast. It comes out extremely fast. Another reason that it will be good for a defensive blade. You know, that thing is just coming out once it leaves the handle, and it locks up solidly. You're ready to rock and roll. Lockup, obviously, is a liner lock. You can see that. I know it's a little fuzzy because I got a crappy camera, but it is a beefy liner lock. And it achieves almost 100% lockup of the liner. However, as you can probably see there's still about another 100% of space. Like this liner lock could move over its width, and it would still be engaging the blade fully and not hitting the back, because that blade is so thick right up there at the tip, or at the base, I guess I should say. So because of that, the liner engages really well. And it is a very thick liner, almost like a frame lock, really. I mean, it's a really sturdy liner. So I like that a lot. Jimped, so you can you know, get it open real easy, and it locks up tight. There's no wiggle in any direction. Very, very tight. There was a little tiny bit of side-to-side wiggle when I got it, and I just tightened the pivot a little, and it completely took it out. And it didn't affect the speed of the blade at all. So that's very good. Very, very good. So speed and lockup is excellent. Strength is also excellent. You got these big old beefy steel liners. They are milled out on the inside, which I know you can't see, but that's just because my camera's crappy once again. Oh, maybe you can see it a little bit there. See those little dark circles? They're that's the milling there in the handle. And it's a full flow-through design, fully pillared. Not like an Endura, which is fully, you know, has a full solid back. Or most of the Spydercos have a full solid back. So it's a fully pillared flow-through design, which some of you will like for cleaning and stuff. It's easy to just blow that out. Stainless, you know, little stainless pillars in the stainless liners. So that's pretty nice. And you know, G10 and stainless steel, and it's very, very strong. You know, there's no flex in it when you squeeze it at all. So it's really strong, really beastly. I like that a lot. We're getting ready to run out of time here, so I'm going to cut and go to part 2.